everybody, and welcome to the Quail Forest Community Podcast, where neighbors meet neighbors. I'm your host, Mark Stein. This show is all about helping us get to know the wonderful people who live right here in Quail Forest and introducing trusted local organizations and resources, especially those that support our senior residents. Together, we're building a stronger, more connected community, one conversation at a time. I'm thrilled to have Hank Maddox with me today, another wonderful resident of Quail Forest. Hank and I have crossed paths a few times, but today we'll dive a little deeper into his story. My hope is that you'll learn something about Hank that will either lead you to reach out to him as a valuable resource, discover common interests, or at the very least, give you something to talk about the next time you see him at the pool or around the neighborhood. Hank, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and I'm so pleased to have you as part of the podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Thrive Quail Forest Communities Podcast. I'm Mark Stein with Thrive Quail Forest. This is a new series. In fact, Nancy Wathen was the first one that we did just recently, and I'm happy to have Hank Maddox with me today, another resident of Quail Forest, to be my guest. And this series we're entitling Community Conversations. And the purpose is to get to know some of your neighbors that maybe you only get to know if you see them going to the mailbox or walking the dog. I don't think Hank has a dog, but to get to know each other in a deeper way than we would be able to if we just passed each other on the street, or even a brief chat at the pool. And my hope is that you will learn something about Hank that leads you to seek him out, maybe as a resource. Maybe you have some common interests, or at least when you see him at the pool, you'll be able to have something, know that you have something in common, to get to know each other better. So Hank, thanks so much for joining us, and really pleased to have you on the podcast.
Well, Mark, thanks so much for inviting me to do this. I'm flattered that you asked, and I just hope that people watching this will feel that their time has been well spent. I hope there's something I can contribute, and if there's any way I can help my neighbors, that's what I'd like to do. So
awesome. So let's start back at the beginning. Maybe not at birth, but birth itself. But where did you grow up? Talk about your childhood a little bit, and then we'll move forward.
I am originally from a little town in Southwest Virginia. Martinsville, Virginia was known back in the 60s as second only to Miami, Florida in the terms of millionaires per capita. We had tremendous industry. We had furniture. We had a big DuPont plant. We had Mara industry. We were known as the furniture capital of the world. That prosperity for our little community didn't necessarily transfer to my family. I grew up middle class at best, but I was one of 5 children in a terrific Christian family. Unfortunately, my father passed away before I was old enough to know him. And so my mom, an incredible Christian woman, raised 5 children, put us all through college. And we all of us seem to have turned out pretty well.
Wow. Usually in a family that big, one is a judge and the other is a criminal or something like that, So I think it's pretty rare that the whole family turns out okay.
Yeah.
And what did your mom do for work to support 5 of you all the way through college?
Well, she had several different jobs. Of course, what my father left her covered part of it, but she did need to find employment eventually. And so she was the president and director of the Tuberculosis Association chapter there in Martinsville. And then after that, she became the secretary to the principal over at the city high school. And when she wasn't doing her full-time job, she had a part-time job as a stenographer, doing a lot of work for various organizations with their bulletins, their pamphlets, their marketing material, several churches, for example. And so me and my younger brother would often help her with that after she ran the bulletins off of the machinery. My brother Charles and I would help her fold and mail everything that needed to get out. So yeah, she stayed busy a lot of the time. And I'll add this, that because she was away from the house a lot, she hired a housekeeper, and her name was Annette Hairston. And Annette was an incredible woman. She had a family of her own, but she helped clean and maintain homes for others. And she, looking back on it, was like a second mother to me, Mark, and just a really incredible woman too.
I think it's always interesting when we have, especially males, have strong mothers. And your mom had to be strong in order to do what she did, keeping 5 kids in line, and how that impacts us. And then also strong surrogates in our lives too. We had someone who took care of us and the house, and she was like my second mom. In fact, she ran interference for me sometimes to keep me out of trouble. Uh, and I would run and hide behind Jesse uh, when my mom was after me. So literally and figuratively. Um, Go ahead.
Isn't it interesting how you, me, uh, our neighbors who are watching this, we're all at that age where we can look back and reflect on not only what happened, but why it happened, how we got to where we are now. It's, I think it's hard not to believe that there isn't a force greater than ourselves uh, helping us navigate through life. And I look back on it. My older siblings were almost out of the house when I was growing up, so um, that I had some influence there. But outside of my mother, I was incredibly blessed to have uh, men from the church, for example, who came in and out of my life at a particular time when I needed either a father figure or some guidance or leadership or just plain good examples of men living a good life and passing on lessons in life to those beneath them. So I feel really blessed.
And I don't think once we get older, I don't think we acknowledge in our daily lives, even just in our heads, the influence, the positive influence, and also how fortunate we were to have those positive influences, because there are certainly a lot of people that don't get that kind of support. So, um, let's see. So, talk, if we were to meet you in high school, Um, what was your persona? I think we all adopt personas in high school. How would we, and I know this is stereotypical, but how would we likely view you? What did what did your teenage self look like to you?
That's a pretty good question, Mark. You want an honest answer. Because of my or the absence of a father figure in my life, I was in high school. I didn't have a great self image. I didn't have a lot of self esteem. So I was kind of quiet, um, not necessarily outgoing, but just a nice guy. Tried to keep my nose clean. And I think my classmates at that time would have simply described me as just a regular guy, just a good guy, trying to keep it in the road.
Did you play sports? Were you on academic teams? What were your interests? Um,
I did. I played a lot of sports because that was uh, again, without the father figure, that was a natural area to turn to. And so I played baseball and basketball and tennis and swimming. I was not large enough to play football. I was like 5'2", 94 pounds in the eighth grade. And by senior year, I was like almost 6 feet tall and only 140, 145 pounds. But yeah, I really did enjoy sports. In fact, I ended up going to Virginia Tech and getting a degree in health and physical education. So
hmm. Did you ever teach and like move into PE
I
teaching?
did. I did. I actually, while all my classmates in college were out interviewing for jobs, I was student teaching that quarter and so missed out. And I went to graduate school for a quarter, thinking I might teach in the junior college programs. But I needed to get out and see if teaching was what I really wanted to do for a better part of my life. So I took a job halfway through the semester system in a very affluent school system. And I really enjoyed the teaching, Mark, but the administrative side was, shall we say, a little disturbing. They weren't very supportive of the teachers, and I just thought maybe there was something a little bit better for me. So I undertook a campaign to find different work, and I had worked part time in a bank uh, before college, and I liked the atmosphere. I liked the prestige, if you will. And so I interviewed a number of banks and got on with the largest bank in the state of Virginia at the time. It was called Virginia National Bank. I entered their management training program and worked my way up to the one of really great areas of the bank is the real estate finance division. And so I was there for a while, was promoted and transferred around the state. And without putting our audience to sleep, I ended up working for a number of different organizations. I often tell people it's easier to tell you the banks that I didn't work for because there were so many mergers and acquisitions going on
Right.
back in the 80s and 90s. In fact, I even ended up working in the mergers and acquisitions department of one of the major banks. So, anyway.
You probably had to look at your logo on your polo shirt to remember who you were working for.
Yeah, it was an interesting time. Very interesting time.
Um, if you could not have done banking, is there a career path, job that you think you would have loved to have done?
Oh, yeah. I always thought I wanted to be a pilot and fly an airplane. And everybody said, well, you ought to get your degree first. And so immediately after I got my degree, I went down to the recruiter and to the Air Force, recruiter for the Air Force. And I thought I'd start there and maybe eventually end up flying commercially for one of the big airlines. And everything went great. They sent me to actually Langley for my physical. And having been a phys ed major, I mean, I was in great shape. Everything was going great. They got to the written part, and my conscience wouldn't let me fib. So we're asked the question, "Have you ever had hay fever or asthma?" I checked the box that said yes, because I had as a child growing up. And 3 months later, I got a letter from the Surgeon General in Texas telling me that I'd been disqualified because of one recorded case of hay fever 8 years prior. And so that was really a disappointment. And but not to be outdone yet, I sent off to the Navy for their applications for pilots. And this was in the summer. I'd already graduated, and the application came back, and it was about that thick. I said, "Well, I don't think I'm going to go through this." So anyway,
Be sure to talk to Todd Eckhouse about flying. And there's a podcast in the Quail Forest, on the Quail Forest website, that he did, telling stories, mostly harrowing stories about being a pilot. So,
well, it's interesting you bring that up, because not only did I listen to some of that podcast a ways back, but of course I met Todd at our luncheon just recently, and so we had a conversation about that very subject.
good.
Which, if I can segue into the subject of this effort that you've been undertaking, the Thrive Quail Forest. I think what you're doing, or what you're trying to accomplish there, Mark, is really, really a real plus for the Quail Forest community. And there's several reasons. Number one is, I'm not aware that our community puts out any sort of communication vis-a-vis a monthly or even a quarterly newsletter, advising what's going on, inviting others to contribute, or anything like that. Now, I myself, as you probably know, I'm a technological Neanderthal. So I'm used to being able to find a directory of neighbors' names, addresses, and either phone numbers and or email addresses. And I don't have, I guess we have access to that somehow. Maybe if we go online through the management company. But the point I'm trying to make is, with the Thrive Quail Forest, the potential to grow this effort for the homeowners is really unlimited. And the more people we can get involved, and as you know, most of us are seniors, what a positive thing that is for our community. So conversations like this, the social events, how much fun was that? And the idea about breaking bread every once in a while, and going to different restaurants. Maybe it's just me, but I love that kind of stuff. So anyway, thanks for the effort you make.
Yeah, well, thank you. And there is a quarterly newsletter. It's fairly recent that the board, Michaeline with the board, does put out, and I think it's quarterly. And in the HOA meeting last night, they mentioned that some people may not be getting it. So reach out to a board member and they will reach out to a board member and they'll get you on that email list. And I think there is a directory, not with phone numbers or email addresses, but I think there is a directory on the portal. And you go to Quail Forest, I think it's .info. Just do a Google search for Quail Forest, and you'll find that that website. And work orders and different things are posted
Yeah.
there, minutes from meetings. But anyway, um, but it's mostly business sorts of things about the community because that's what they're responsible for. That's what they're charged with. So, and ours is more free form, social, and we don't attempt to duplicate anything that the board's doing. And just if I can give a plug to them, um, I attend most of the HOA meetings and the organization, the way they work together, the way they communicate, um, their fiscal responsibility is amazing. We have over $1 million in investments. So, and when we had the roofs redone, it was only a $2,000 assessment. And I've heard from other communities that it was $7,000 assessment too, because they weren't preparing and putting money away. Anyway, um,
But look, I totally agree with you. And because I used to be president of a homeowners association and I've been on the board of directors. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. And that part of our association is doing a great job. And it's just little things, but
our
we can
our
all,
grounds are beautiful. You know, they really the black topping stays good. Yeah, so and I have a friend who's in a neighboring association community,
yeah.
and she came over and she goes, "Man, this place looks really good." So anyway,
I want to give a shout out to Bruce real quickly too, who's
yeah,
the superintendent. I've been working with him off and on small things since I moved in here just over 2 years ago. And it's little things, but I tell you what, he treats my little issues as if they were big issues, and he's done a really nice job for me. He's a really nice guy, and anyway,
yeah,
out for
good
you, Bruce.
good point. He really puts himself out. He's out watering these new
Yeah,
plantings
yeah,
with a tank on his truck. I mean, he really
yeah,
he really puts in the time. So
yeah,
yeah, thank you for that.
yeah.
But let's get back to you. So um, so you're in banking. Talk about family during that period. Were you married previously? Do you have kids? Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, and then I hope we'll quickly move into my passions after that because my love life has been the material for several soap operas, and uh, uh, but fortunately, hopefully, I'm recently engaged. Hopefully, I'll finally get it right. I was married a couple of times, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out. I don't have children of my own. Had a chance to adopt, but chose not to because we were going in the wrong directions. And as you know, my recent engagement, I've never been happier in my life, Mark. I heard all through my life from people who had experienced successful marriages and meeting their spouse to be that this saying kept coming up: when you know, you'll know it's the right one. And when I met Vicky, I knew, and it was just the feeling was just incredible. because I just never felt anything like that before. So, I don't want to put people to sleep about my love life here, but I don't mind telling you that at the ripe old age of 74, I'm feeling a little bit like a teenager again. So
That's great. And I never would have pinned you at 74. So you're doing a lot of things right. And we hold that in common, but I was 65 when I met the love of my life. No aspersions towards previous attempts, but
right.
but it does feel great. So I'm
God
uh,
is good.
congratulations, and I can tell you, I know exactly how it feels. So um, okay, so what about passions? And I know it because when sometimes when we've got events planned, you're off in Tallahassee or someplace across the state helping people in uh, emergency situations and weather-related issues. So, um, but let me not focus you too much. What is that passion?
I think start by, I'll preface by saying that until I was approaching retirement, I was content to be in an administrative organizational capacity. Those are some of my skills that are the best. Um, After a few ups and downs, I finally found the key to working with customers and being very successful at at uh, at solving problems. Uh, you. All right. That being said, as I approached retirement, I started thinking about two things. Number one, is there a way to retire early? Can I pull that off? And number two, regardless of when I pull it off, what am I going to do in retirement? And I was I was lucky. Um, when I started analyzing what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be, and so forth, God planted the question, a real simple question in my mind. I mean, He challenged me to look back over my life and ask myself, Hank, what is it that you did that gave you the most satisfaction? What kind of work or what projects? What was it that gave you the feeling of real satisfaction? And I knew instantly, Mark. I knew instantly because looking back over my work life, part of that involved community service. All the banks I worked with, without exception, they all encouraged community service, volunteerism, and I enjoyed doing that. I found that I really look forward to doing that, regardless of whether my employer gave me paid time off to do it or not. I would have done it for free. I just those incidences, those times where I was able to help not only other nonprofit organizations, but individuals as well. That really gave me that sense of satisfaction. And boom, it was like the light coming on. Well, that's what I want to do, if possible. In retirement, that's what I'm going to do. Um, and I found out I could retire a little bit earlier. I didn't need to have a part-time job, at least not yet. And so for the last 10 years, I've been doing all kinds of volunteer work. And that's become my passion. A the first job I had right after I retired was I had a chance to teach English as a second language in Tianjin, China, about 90 miles west of Beijing. And it was a summer school program, one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. And I thought I was going to do volunteerism on an international basis, try to network and feed my desire to volunteer and help others with my secondary desire, which is traveling. That was going to take longer to set up, so I stayed in the States. And a dear friend of mine told me about an organization known as Samaritan's Purse. And hopefully, many of those listening will already know about Samaritan's Purse. It's it's been over 40 years now. Billy Graham, the evangelist, Billy Graham, and now his son, Franklin Graham, started Samaritan's Purse. Actually, a good friend of Billy Graham's was the one who started it, but Billy was behind it with him. And it's grown to be one of the largest, if not the largest, independent volunteer organization internationally, all over the world. And they have so many different outreaches, but the one that I've focused on has been the disaster relief mission programs. And Samaritan's Purse does disaster relief all over the world. But here within the United States, every time there's a hurricane, tornado, floods, and even now disastrous fires, more than likely Samaritan's Purse will send groups, platoons of helpers to go into that community that's been damaged and offer help. And so I've been doing that for over 8 years now, and I've been on close to 50 different deployments. And I tell friends that if I'm not doing mission relief on a fairly regular basis, I start to come down with mission withdrawal. And these are serious symptoms. And I've got to get back on the road and go do something. And I'm in one of those periods right now. I've been waiting to hear from both California and Hawaii about some relief missions in both those areas. But at this point, if you've been following the news, there have been so many geographical climate disasters that Samaritan's Purse has a record number of volunteer opportunities for disaster relief all through the Midwest, the South. It's a never-ending need, and so I'm looking at getting out there in the field again. I haven't been to the Asheville and Western North Carolina areas yet, and they have 3 different sites there. So I'm going to be going there shortly. I need to get back out there and
scratch that itch.
Yeah, that's I'd say that's my major passion is Samaritan's Purse, but I've been volunteering in other ways too. I work at the food pantry. I work out at the state park. I volunteer on these. I volunteer at my church, and if I can help out, then that's what I'd like to do. But
I would imagine that there are quite a few people in the neighborhood who would be interested in volunteer work, and probably a lot do through their church or religious group. Would you be able to send me a list of volunteer organizations that you have vetted or that you know of, some local, maybe some state, some international or national and international. And we'll put them down in the show notes. So if you could do that, I think it would help facilitate a lot more volunteer opportunities, because some people, I think, would like to do that, but maybe they're not very web savvy. So I think if given opportunities, they may just jump on it.
Yeah, that is a good idea, Mark. And let me work on that, and I'll get that information to you.
Okay, and we'll put it down in the show notes so anybody can look up
Okay.
These organizations.
Okay.
From our brief conversations, it does seem like your Christian faith really is underneath a lot of your motivations. It sounds like it's just a general interest anyway, but it sounds like it's very faith driven as well. Anything or you know, digging into religion can be a dangerous path, but anything that maybe too intimate, but that you want to share with the whole community. But is there any part of that that underpinning that you'd like to share? And we can skip it if you want.
I'm I'm glad you brought it up. And I think that as a Christian, we're all challenged to go out and make disciples, as Christ says in the New Testament. In fact, in the book of Matthew, first book of the New Testament, the last two or three verses, the last verse in Matthew is my go-to verse. It says, go out and make disciples, but then the 28th verse says, and lo, I am with thee always, even until the ends of the earth. And he spoke those words to me at a time in my life when I was at the bottom of the well. And my life has never been the same since. And I think, without trying to preach or turn this into a sermon, there's several ways to look at this. You're scientific and you're questioning. I try to make it simple, and that is that if we believe in our own existence, if you believe in your own existence, you have to believe in a power far greater than yourselves. And you can make a decision what you're going to do with that knowledge, what you're going to call it, or what your life philosophy is going to become. I'll say this, and then I'll end with a funny joke. Not really a joke. Mark, it's so interesting that you brought this up and that we're talking about this, because I read a devotional just this morning, and it's from Anne Graham Lotz. Anne Graham was the daughter of Billy Graham. And in it, she makes the statement, I don't know, I don't have the exact number. There are well over 150 different religions around this planet. But the statement she made was that all the other religions, all the other spiritual belief systems are about man trying to find God. Man's efforts to try and find a God, a higher being. And then she says, Christianity is the only one where God is trying to find man. You know, God sent his son, Jesus Christ. It's God trying to find man and make that connection. So anyway, I'll leave that for our audience to ponder. And on this topic, I'll leave this topic now with one of my favorite quotes. I don't know if you've heard of, I'm sure some of the people here listening have heard of Zig Ziglar, the late great Christian motivational speaker. And he's got one of my favorite quotes. Zig says, "Every day is a blessed day. And if you don't believe it, just try missing one." So anyway, I hope the listening audience will be patient and understanding of what you've asked me to opine on. Thanks for asking the question.
Sure. Well, once I asked it, I realized that I violated one of the things that I said before we started, which was, I'm not going to put you on the spot. And I did. So, but it sounds like it was okay. So thank you. And thanks for going there. You know, I think just based on how the world is working today, I think we're hesitant to be as open about certain things. And I think spirituality is one of those, and religion, maybe because everything is divisive right now. So, no, I appreciate you sharing with that.
Yeah.
One thing I meant to comment on at the very beginning, and I'll do it now, and then I've got another direction I'd like us to go before we wind up. But I thought, I know that certain Virginia accent, and I didn't hear it until you said house.
About out.
Right. So you either were not living in a part of Virginia that use that how now brown cow accent. It's actually a form of British English, if you listen carefully, and deep Southern accents like Jimmy Carter's. It's a slowed down version of British English. So it's interesting that it's so old. But that there's certain areas of North Carolina and Virginia, maybe it's at that border, where it's just very strong and very obvious. And I think accents are just so interesting anyway.
Yeah.
So thank you for humoring me with one house.
Well, if anybody cares, my family, we are from English ancestry. In fact, one of the members of my family has traced us all the way back to the Knights of the Round Table. And there was one of the knights is named Maddox, Madoc. A little bit of trivia there.
And interesting, also similar, that people that believe in reincarnation, they're always the reincarnation of a duke, or, it's never, I was a beggar on the streets of New Delhi. We were all ancestor or descendants of famous people. Joan of Arc is in my no, anyway.
Oh, yeah. Mark, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, turnabout's fair play.
Well, having participated in the first the lunch outing there at the Indian restaurant, I wondered if you could describe maybe in general just a few other types of activities that anyone listening to this conversation might want to be aware of coming up in the future.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That's really safe. So thanks for not asking me something more personal
Yeah,
to
we're
get
not going to get into politics.
yeah, really. That's one topic I can almost guarantee you that we won't cover in the podcast. We'll stay away from that. Um, so yeah, we've got a new series to dine out and explore new restaurants, and that's called Dine and Discover. And I'd like to do one a month if there's interest. The next one coming up is Duff's, which is, are you familiar with Duff's?
Well, it's really interesting that you bring up that one because I had heard about Duff's, but since having participated in the Indian restaurant where we were, I have heard about Duff's on at least 5 different occasions now. And people are talking about Duff's, and I can't wait to go because I've never been, but I've heard about it. So I'm looking forward to that.
It's a cafeteria in Clearwater countryside would be the
Right?
best identifier of it.
Yeah.
And it has really good quality vegetables. You know, a lot of those bigger buffets, they may give you some soggy broccoli, but and not much vegetables, but the meats, vegetables, everything is really fresh. And it's like old school cafeteria buffets, and we've been there several times. And especially, I like to go when I want southern vegetables. Um, so we're going to go. We'll put it down in the show notes for that date, and we're already promoting it. I think we're going to do kayaking twice. Um, One of our core members' daughters coming from England, and she's been wanting to go. And we've got another one to schedule so we may go in April and another one scheduled in May uh, to go kayaking at Weeki Wachee. I think a lot of people may have been to see the mermaid show. I don't know if we're going to have time for that, but it's a it's a kitschy classic 50s place, and they have a underground cave where you go with a big window like an aquarium, and mermaids have air hoses, and they do, you know, acrobatics and sort of stuff. Oh, you've been there? What?
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there. It's fun. It's
I
fun.
think it's been there since the 50s, maybe. It's an old school place, but the kayaking, I've been to Rainbow River and a lot of these clear spring-fed rivers, and I think Weeki Wachee is the most beautiful and clearest.
Yeah.
There's um, manatees in the wintertime. I don't know if we'll see any, but so we're doing that, and we usually have a big um, social activity several times a year. I think we're going to aim for quarterly. And the next one of those will be 4th of July. And we're going to do a not progressive dinner, but a progressive picnic. And we're working out the details. That'll be 4th of July. And go to several different houses for appetizers, hot dogs and hamburgers since it's 4th of July, and then dessert. Um, so we'll continue doing social events. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, all those sound like great ideas, Mark. Appreciate your spearheading that and motivating us to get out and do some of these things and meet each other.
Yeah, well, I have to give a lot of credit to the core group, of which you are one, for pitching in and helping to organize and coordinate stuff. And I like to do, if we're off site, I like to do carpooling from the pool parking lot. There was one more thing. Anyway, I know, we're putting out a survey, um, and it'll be in this email of your podcast. We're putting out a survey. And there are some people that are interested in bridge, mahjong, that sort of thing. There are already groups, but we've reached out to those groups and they're full. So we're putting out a survey to see if if there's any interest in starting some new groups within the community, to do board games and canasta and card games and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for asking that. And if somebody is coming across this podcast that's not getting the newsletter, and it may be a referral about the podcast, be sure to contact me at Mark at thrivecolivingcommunities.org if you want to be on our newsletter, or go directly to the website, thrivequailforest.org, and you'll be able to see some podcasts, activities, sort of what our mission is. And one more ask, and we'll move on. We've applied for several grants from the Pinellas Community Foundation, and actually I'm having a meeting with a representative there. There's some programs to support seniors, and we're applying for a grant. But if anybody out there knows of any grant sources, public, private, that might be interested in supporting our mission, please let me know also at that email address. So, last question that I have for you is areas of interest that are not tied necessarily to your mission, but activities that you like, and maybe you and Vicky have already started participating in some of them. Sports, spectator sports. What are your other outside interests that are fun for you?
Well, traveling is certainly one of those, and I plan to do more of that when my body can't endure some of these deployments anymore. But that's still a couple of years away. But I'd like to squeeze in a little bit more travel. Another hobbies are, in fact, I'm going kayaking this weekend, so I enjoy doing that. Speaking of card games, I have been a duplicate bridge player for 30 years. Really, really enjoy playing bridge. I'm a member of both the Clearwater and St. Pete bridge clubs. And that's something I enjoy doing. I don't play it nearly as much as I'd like to because I'm busy doing other things. And another sport is I played golf most of my life, but unfortunately, as a result of a couple of shoulder operations, my game went in the tank and unfortunately still remains there. But it doesn't keep me from playing from time to time, so I enjoy doing that.
And on travel, digging into travel a little bit, what's been your most awesome travel destination so far, and what's on your bucket list?
Yeah, good question. Well, you heard me mention the trip to China, and although that was volunteer and / work related, that was quite a trip. But some of the other trips I've taken, I went to the Greek islands, and that was a lot of fun. But here's another volunteer opportunity that was also some travel. was we helped build a church up in Alaska. And Alaska, of course, is an area that I might like to go back to. I'm looking at Portugal as a possibility. And I haven't really taken an extensive trip in Italy, and I've heard nothing but good things about Italy.
How about European river cruises? Have you done that? I get a lot of, because I'm interested in it, I get a lot of those uh, tours and things on YouTube.
Yeah,
Um, and they seem interesting, and definitely different from the huge Caribbean cruise ships that have
yeah,
20,000 people on
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I agree. And I've been looking at those too. And I've also been looking at just US river cruises, not just for the kind of a different type of cruising experience, but also for the historical aspect. I'd
Mhm,
like to combine travel with knowledge opportunities,
mhm,
people, speakers that might be on board, or excursions that are specifically related to histories of the region. Uh,
mhm. I just saw a YouTube video about that Viking. I don't know if they've been doing it for a while, but then they usually are associated with European river cruises. But they have a Mississippi river cruise
yeah,
that starts down in New Orleans or somewhere around there.
you're right. There's a couple, New Orleans to Tennessee, and then there's New Orleans all the way up farther north, just depending on how much you want to see and do. But part of it talks about the Lewis and Clark expedition. Another one, a branch of that talks about Civil War history and the sites. And you
Hmm.
know, sounds interesting to me.
Yeah. And they seem to have experts, historical experts in each of the or several of the cities, that really have an in-depth knowledge of the area,
Right,
historically and otherwise.
right.
Um, okay, well, this has really been rich. I truly appreciate you agreeing to do this. And this is a type of conversation I that I'm interested in, and hopefully the others are interested in it as well in the community. And I would encourage anybody who has a story to tell, and that's everybody, or if you know somebody in the community that you think could offer a really interesting podcast interview, please get in touch with me. And we'll also put my contact information down in the show notes as well as the website. But I really appreciate your openness, and it was very interesting to me, and I hope it was interesting to others, and I'm sure it is.
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you so much for asking. It was a real pleasure. You had some great questions, and I hope that the people listening to this have benefited from it in some small way. And anybody, as you've mentioned, anybody that would like to follow up with me about Samaritan's Purse, uh, I'm happy to help if I can.
Awesome. Well, let me also thank the audience for tuning in, and invite you to, if you like the podcast, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification button, and then you'll be alerted. If you're a YouTube fanatic like I am, you'll be alerted with each episode. So thanks, everybody. If you want to learn more about Thrive, go to thrivequailforest.org, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Thanks again. Thanks for spending time with us today on the Quail Forest Community Podcast. And thanks to Hank Maddox, my guest, for being here with us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you never miss a conversation. And most importantly, tell a neighbor about the podcast this week. That's how community grows. And that's also, we're looking for other interesting residents and resources to interview on the podcast. So please send them our way. Our contact information is down in the show notes below. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.